program that's obviously near and dear to my heart. As somebody who spoke at one of the first ones in 2020 when we did it via Zoom. So it's certainly been a successful program. I'm thrilled to be a sponsor. For those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Pinkham. I'm on the board of the Chamber, and I've been an active member for about 20 years, and I see a lot of familiar faces. And my company is Phifer Pinkham LLC. We're a full-service business law firm, and we're thrilled to be the spotlight speaker today because we also have a relationship with SteinbergHR, and we're thrilled that Meghan is the speaker today, and we're excited to register her today. So take it away.
Thank you.
So I'm going to Meghan Steinberg from Mountain One. She's our moderator today, and she's just going to dive into it.
All right. So I feel like we're best friends now.
I know.
Because we
I
got to meet last
true.
week and found out so much about each other and so many commonalities. So I'm so excited to be sharing this with you today. So
Thank you.
would you mind sharing your path or journey, whatever you want to call it, of where you started and how that journey has taken you to where you have gotten to today?
Sure. Well, first it's like being with a bunch of friends right now. Like, there's so many familiar faces. I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little nervous leading up, but being here today is just, it feels really good, and I hope that, I always take away something when I come to one of these things, and I hope that I can impart something or one thing to everybody here. And I have to say, so I learned about Will from Jackie, my buddy Jackie, when I first joined the Chamber, and she said, it's just a really great program, it's a really great event, you should really think about maybe sponsoring it. And so I came to a couple of the events, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. And then I was asked to moderate, which was so much fun. And then this year, Heather had reached out, and she's like, so we're going to have you come again? And I was like, oh, this is great, I get to moderate it again. And she's like, no, you're going to be highlighted. I was like, oh my gosh. So I just feel it's very humbling, and I feel really fortunate to be here and for the opportunity, and and it was awesome meeting you too. So thank you. So I grew up in the South Shore. I grew up in Stoughton, Canton, is where I lived, and I went to Fontbonne, which I know Stacy is here. So Fontbonne Academy in Milton. I was a duck, and all women's Catholic high school, and that really has shaped a lot of who I am. And I don't know if I necessarily realized it in the moment, but as I've grown and as I have all these different experiences, I do often go back to Fontbonne and what they really instilled in a lot of what this program does. So went to Fontbonne. I was not, I wouldn't say I was a scholar student. However, I had a lot of fun. I was very engaged and involved. And I remember so clearly, I was with my dad, and we were, I don't know why, I think we were shining up his shoes in his bedroom. And I'm like, Dad, what the heck am I going to do? Like, where am I going to go to school? I don't necessarily have the grades to do this. All my friends were applying to all these different places, and he's like, you're going to be okay, Meg. Like, you will be all right. Let's just figure out, you love to cook, you love food, you love culinary. And so we started going down that kind of pathway of, is it culinary? Is it cruise lines? Like, what are the things that you can do? Well, Johnson & Wales came across. I think I had an interview. I don't even know if they did the SATs and an essay, but whatever. I had a great interview, and I got in. And so I graduated with Hotel, Restaurant, Institutional Management, and one of my externships or co-ops was in Colorado. So I'll circle back to that in a minute. So went there, had a really rich, wonderful experience, and when I graduated from there, I worked all around the Charles River. So I worked at Harvard Business School, Boston University, and MIT, and I worked for Aramark, which some of you may know them as feeding everybody at Fenway, but I really was in the higher ed space and academia. So I worked there. I managed and directed their high-end catering, their retail, their residential, for a period of time. And I will say, still to this day, I was at MIT as the acting general manager, and I was 20-something, and I had no business in that role at all. It was a union environment, multifaceted. It just was, there was so much going on at the time, and but it was an awesome opportunity. So I think one of the things I always just say yes, right? Like, I'm like, I'll just do the best that I can, and hopefully surround myself with people that can help lift me up or kind of show me my blind spots. And so there I am in this role, and my dad had passed away. So for many of you, I'm sure, in the room that have experienced a loss like that, I lifted my head up and I'm like, now what do I do? You know, I stayed around the area. I love to ski, and in my 20-something-year-old brain, I'm like, I'm moving to Colorado. My mom's here. My mom, I look at my journals, and I'm like, it was like a month later. And I'm like, oh, so it was, I'm moving to Colorado, and thank goodness the people around me in Aramark, again, I didn't realize it, similar to Fonfon, I didn't realize it at the time, but they knew better than I in that moment, and they're like, all right, you want to go to Colorado, you go look for your job out in Colorado. If it does not work out, but you also need to find somebody to fill in this GM role, and if it doesn't work out, you can just come back across the river. And so I'm like, no, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna find it. So I started interviewing 20-something brain. The jobs were not plentiful out there, and they did not pay what they did in Boston. And so transitioned my general manager, and then I came back across the river. And in that role, I had worked as an operator, but the HR manager was leaving. And at the time, there was probably like 300, 400 employees, I would say, up and down Comm Ave. And the HR manager was leaving, and the district manager had said, Megan, why don't you just help us limp along? It's opening. It's a really busy time. Just help us limp along, and we'll go from there. You go look for your job out in Colorado. And when I started to do it, I fell in love with HR. And for anybody that knows, like, if you're managing and directing, like, there is an HR element, a human resources, and a people element to that. So to really focus on HR was just, I found it. I still love food, but like I found like what I was kind of meant to do. And I was working for this big corporation, but yet BU was their flagship account, so we really had the autonomy to do some different things. So I loved it. District manager comes in and she says to me, Megan, I'm willing to stop this search. This is after about 3 months, if you're willing to stay here. And I was like, well, I'll think about it. And then I get a phone call from Bruce Perry, who is, you know, a gentleman that really, like, again, supported me and saw things in me, and he calls me and he's like, get in my office now. So I go over and he's like, what do you mean you need to think about it? And I was like, well, he's like, give me the top 3 reasons what you need to think about. And I'm like, I really want to move out to Colorado. And he's like, but why? I'm like, I love to ski. And the people are so nice there. And he's like, don't even get to number 3, Megan. He's like, get in that office and tell her that you will take it. This is going to be a changing moment for you in your career. And I did. And I really have never looked back. And so I visit Colorado, but I also ski in New Hampshire. And that's okay. And it was a really rich experience. So we went through mergers and acquisitions at BU. And then we centralized all the HR functions. So I had all of this really wonderful, rich experience from an HR standpoint. And I worked at New England Conservatory and Brandeis as we were mitigating cost in 2008. But again, I had that experience to really build out and put different notches on my belt within the HR function. And loved it. Was able to build up an HR team, which I had never done before. So that was, although I managed, but in this capacity I'd never really done. So that was wonderful. And then I got recruited to work for Boston University. And so they were building up an HR service delivery model, and they were, you know, things were getting shaken up a little bit. So they had asked me to move across. So I had done that. It was a really big decision, but I think, you know, we talked about kind of accomplishments. Mm-hmm. When I left BU, it was decentralized. We had all these managers, probably about 80 to 100 managers. Because by the time I left, it was about 800 employees, 900 employees. And they just were all operating on their own, like kind of what they thought was the best. And so by centralizing, we were able to centralize the functions, take that off their plate, and then really build up the skills that they needed to manage people and to do it successfully and productively. And so when I left, these managers they were calling me, like, just giving me the rundown of, like, these are the things that happen, or this is what is going on right now, and we're able to give an overview but know enough that they were really operating independently, and they have these skills. And so that, when I look at, like, professionally, like an accomplishment, to have all those managers have that ability to do that, and we were able to do that, was really great. BU was wonderful, very different working directly for higher education versus, you know, being a third party supporting them. And so I did that for many years, got really wonderful experience. I oversaw the facilities department, so the custodians, the trades, all up and down Comm Ave. The umbrella was about 2,000 employees. We also had College of Fine Arts, or at the medical center, the Needle building. So it really was an eclectic support and workforce. And so that was really wonderful. And then I got married, and I had Hank, who's now 10 years old, and I lifted my head up and I was like, you know, I could stay here at BU. It's an awesome institution, wonderful benefits, all the things. But I felt like I was also at this sweet spot in my career where I'm like, if I don't make a change right now, then I'm going to be here in like 10, 15, 20 years from now. And is that going to be too late? And so I remember it so clearly. I was sitting at the table with Mike, and Hank's like crawling around, doing his army crawl. And I'm like, I feel like I need to work in a different industry. I know I can do HR anywhere, but that's a really hard sell with food service and higher ed. And he's like, do it. Let's just do it. And I'm like, this is such a huge risk. Like, we just got a home, we have this little baby. And so that was my vision. My vision was go out and work in different industries with this function and build that experience up. And so I decided to leave. And I didn't have a job. However, we planned for that. And I started to really interview with all different industries, but then what happened was like within your network, people realized like, oh, hey, while you're looking for a job, can you work on this project? Or, hey, you know, our investors are going to be auditing us. Can you come in and make sure we have everything tightened up? We need our systems, our process improvement tightened up as well. So I started to naturally consult, but in professional services, biotech. So my vision was there, but just the pathway was different how I got there. So I did that for a period of time, and then the scariest time again, kitchen table, and I'm like, what if this is happening naturally? Like, what if we do this and I do this? And I would say a huge takeaway is just like, I don't know if I would have done it if it wasn't for Mike being like, just take the risk, do it, and we will figure it out if it doesn't come back. Like, you can go back and house Megan, and you loved it. And so I ripped the Band-Aid and launched SteinbergHR. Some of you may know Karen Pappas. Does anybody feel like Kirsten knows Karen Pappas? She's like a powerhouse, really in the space in HR. She's out of Boston. And so I called her. She does placement. And I was like, Karen, you know, this is what I think I'm going to do. And she had called me. She's like, Megan, I know what you're trying to do. She started her company. She goes, I have a perfect opportunity for you. So she had placed me, for those of you that know Jewish Vocational Service, an amazing opportunity, like amazing organization that I worked with when I was in-house HR. And so really to support them as the head of HR, she goes, we'll do that 4 days a week. And then you can build up your business on the weekend and on that fifth day. I was like, okay. And I was like, can I have a flexible schedule too? Because I was going back into Boston. And I went in for the interview, and they were like, let's do it. And that was on Thursday, and I started on Monday. And so I was able to build up, like have that stability in the income, and then also build up SteinbergHR. So that was 7 years ago, which is just wild to think about. And it's been such a blessing. It's been the best decision of my life. I've met incredible people, a lot that are sitting in this room that, again, understand the blind spots or understand opportunity. And I certainly didn't know everything. I remember that being really nerve-wracking. I was like, well, there's so many pieces to HR and components. And I worked at bigger organizations, so like for compensation and benefits, there were departments that really took care of that. And so I understood enough, but I didn't know it. And so knowing that when I launched, I'm like, I've got to surround myself with people that are subject matter experts in this area and that can really help and teach me. And also, not that I needed to be a subject matter expert, but know who to reach out to was and still is super critical.
Right.
So
you can't know how to do everything, but you know where to find it.
Yeah. And I think I know that's helped me tremendously. Yeah. So that's kind of I'm trying to it's just been, and I work, so SteinbergHR, I should probably say that. I mean, I know I have the bio. So we're a women-owned, boutique human resources firm, and we provide part-time, interim, and project-based support and engagements to all different industries, from nonprofit to general contracting to professional services to healthcare to animal healthcare. So it really runs the gamut. So what's really neat about it is that foundation of HR still stays the same. Like for many of you that are HR professionals, like the fundamentals of it. The absolute best part is to get really creative with it. And what does it mean for the organization that you're at? How can you have the impact? Because it's not going to be, I can't just go in and pull something off the shelf and say, all right, this is going to work for you. It's the relationship building, it's understanding the culture, where they want to go, the strategies, all that sort of thing. And what's important. Like, we're not going to drink out of a fire hose. We're not doing everything. So really trying to understand what do you need to do in this moment that's going to be a really good pathway to the future for the organization. So it's been just awesome. So
wonderful. I know it was great for me because everybody thinks like, oh, I know what HR is, and it's not just like the three things: payroll, benefits, and one or two other things. And
firing people.
Yeah. I'm trying to be positive. But it was just the wealth of what you do in your career and in your company is just mind-blowing, and I can't wait to continue to know more, because then I can take that back to what I do, as can all of us, and apply that. But so that being said, you made the scary but exciting leap to start your own company, and thankfully with the support of your wonderful family. So having a brand, you had to develop a brand for SteinbergHR, but you have to really hone in on your personal brand. So how did you kind of champion that it was so uniquely you, so that people saw that authenticity and it developed the connection with the people that were seeking you out and the people you were seeking out?
Yeah, I that was really important to me. I wanted to stay true to who I was, because that was a safe space. So I know we hear like, oh, make yourself uncomfortable, what's that saying, like, be comfortable being uncomfortable, or whatever that saying is. And so I do believe in that. I also feel like there needs to be something that can come back and can be your anchor of who you are. And when you're doing something that's such a big risk, to have that is really important. And so I remember, again, so clearly being like, I built my own website, which that took me forever and a day. And if you've been on it, I have photos that I took. And so I think they're pretty nice. But that's something that I enjoy as I go along. Like, I'll take these pictures, and so as I was building the website, that was what I didn't want to have, like the handshake or the like presentation that you see with that, a lot of HR. I'll say that you see that on the websites, and I got a lot of pushback from people saying, is this really going to tell the story that you need it to? Because when you go on, it's like it's grass, it's green, it's bright green grass, like right when you go on the front page, and I sat with that a lot, and I got, as I was speaking, for those of you that know me know I like to get feedback on things, but I had to really stop and be like, does this fit you? And is this what you want your message? So the people that do go on that, I want to attract the people that are going to be like, this is really cool. Like, this feels fresh. It doesn't feel corporate-y. It feels like, yeah, like I want to read more and I'm curious. So that's like one example of branding from a visual. And then I also wanted people to know who I was personally. I know sometimes people, I'm sure, there's people's opinion of everything's out on the internet right now, on social media. That being said, I really try to be thoughtful about what am I sharing, so people know that I have a family, I'm a human being, and have a life outside of the work that we do, and then also, what is it that we do? To showcase that and to tell that story, so it's not just the administrative or policy part of HR.
Yeah.
And then also, there are so many people in this room that have supported me and outside that I want to be able to lift them up. Like, I think of Rachel. Rachel is the first person who I networked with and went out for coffee with. I was so nervous going out, but we went to Panera in Hingham. And she gave me a pen. Great swag over here. But I just remember, I kind of lost my train of thought. It was the pen that I lost my train of thought.
Professional networker.
Yes, like just really, how can I continue to surround myself and lift other people up in what they do? Jackie, same thing. I mean, joining the chamber, the things that I'm involved in, the programs, like I just couldn't thank you enough for everything that you have done. And, you know, they're just droppings, right? Like just people they lead you there, and then you have the opportunity to say, does this fit me? Does this, like sponsoring this event? I tried to keep everything, I still try to keep things as lean as possible, but to sponsor, as a small business, you got to be really thoughtful about where you putting your money and what are you going to put your name on. We're also a founding ally for the LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce in Boston. I remember that very clearly. I had a friend that, you know, I'm like, well, what, I talk about networking. I was sitting with Sean, and I'm like, I love this. Like, this is unbelievable. Like, this is something I could definitely get involved in. And I didn't know how to say, like, I'm not gay. Like, and so I'm like, but I'm not, but I support. And he's like, Megan, you're an ally. And I'm like, okay. But I felt like I could have that conversation. And he's like, you know what? We don't have that as a tier for, like, sponsorship and that. So I'm going to go back to them and let them know. So from there, it was a small business ally. So I think throughout that, building community, making sure that and, you know, do you make mistakes along the way? Probably, but just really trying to be true to what you want to support and how you want to build up. And then during COVID, there's another Rachel and I, when COVID hit, I'm like, what the heck do we do? And I started a cafe hour. That was 5 years ago, and we didn't know what the heck was going on, and I'm like, well, we'll bring people together, and it will be virtual, and we'll talk about what we need to do, and try to figure it out ourselves, and it's 5 years later, and we're still doing that cafe hour, which is complimentary. We started a book club. I love book club. The book club is great. And Cardinal, Cushing, you guys had sponsored it last month, which just was fantastic. And again, you cast the net, and you're able to build community in a way that is really authentic and genuine, and it's a space that people can come to, and I love seeing people connect after they've been to an event, and from a business standpoint and personal. So I think all of those things kind of build up the brand, and you don't have to do as much of the thinking of, do I need to be part of a networking group? Like, I've been fortunate that everything has been referral, and I think there's enough business to go around, and you're attracting the right people to engage with you. So,
well, and you had talked a lot too. You just spoke on it a bit. You had talked a lot when we met about a lot of your personal interests overlap with your business interests, and vice versa. And did that just happen naturally for you, or, you know, was it a little bit by design?
No, I think everything has just evolved. I truly do. I think that. You know, I think listening is a really learning from our clients, and that working with them of what's important. How can we adjust things? Like I launched in January. Well, I say a soft launch. I haven't done as much as I should be on it. But it's a HR Compass membership, and that really was birthed from after, we're not going to stay with you forever as a company, but either we'll work ourselves out of a job, or the model will shift. But we had this can I still call you? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh gosh, I can't do that. Plus have these engagement. You know, we probably carry 12 to 15 clients at a time. I'm like, how can I do, I'm not an attorney where I can like, look, I don't know. I couldn't in my mind figure out how I was going to do that. And Mike, my husband's like, but they trust you. And I've watched you over the years and they come back to you because they trust you. So you got to figure something out, Meghan. So I came up with the HR Compass membership, which is a 3-prong approach. So on a monthly, like there's a strategy session for 30 minutes. There's also an on-demand for 30 minutes. It doesn't roll over from month to month, but it's a year-long membership. And so for smaller businesses or businesses that still want to have that, they'll, hold on to be able to have that lifeline or HR line to them as well. So I think just naturally listening and trying to figure out, just doing the best that you can with it,
Well, I think that's a perfect segue to the next question because you identified something to keep you in the loop with these wonderful businesses that you've forged the connections with. So is there a transition you experienced in your life? And again, you identified how you kind of transitioned so you retain the connection. But a transition, whether it be personal or professional or both, that has continued to shape who Meghan has become and is today, and did anyone help you navigate that?
I feel like I'm like echoing. So I was debating whether to share this or not, but I'm just going to share it. So 6 years ago, so it was about a year after I had launched SteinbergHR, my husband had fallen, and it was a fluke thing, and so he had a traumatic brain injury. And we still don't know why or how, but nonetheless, that is what had happened. And so here I am with, how old was Hank? Like 4 years old-ish, 3? So I have Hank. Mike's now, he carries the benefits, right, because I started my own thing, and I just launched this company. And so it was not only personally to try to figure out how am I going to get through like day by day and like get him healthy and back to where his baseline or as close to his baseline as he could be. And truly family is huge, and friends, and quite honestly people within the network that didn't know all the details but knew enough like she needs support. Right, and what can we do to help support that? So whether it was other contractors and HR professionals coming to help and support the engagement that I currently was in, and then also the clients, right? And so you've got these clients that are choosing to engage with you and invest in what you're providing to them and a return on investment that were so thoughtful and just like, you do what you need to do. What capacity do you have, and we will be all right. In my mind, I'm thinking, I need to get them somebody else that's going to come in and do this work. And they're like, we can downshift, and let's figure this out. And so I think in the face of adversity, going with the flow, trusting who's around you, being vulnerable to say, like, this is what I can do in this moment, and this is what I can't do, is really critical. Luckily, he's I'd say, 80% of where he was. It's been a really, really long journey. And within that, COVID had hit, and so pivoting. But I think all of that just shows that life is, in a blink of an eye, can shift for all of us in different varying degrees. And so you pivot, and you find out the best way, and you're really honest of what you can do. Some days I was a really great mom and wife and sister and family member, and then other days I was a kick-ass businesswoman getting stuff done, and the others it fell to the side, and that's okay too.
Right.
I feel like we talked a little bit about like balance and like how do you strike that balance. I'm like, you're really great and some days all the stars align and you're like great at everything that day. You're like, yes, this is awesome.
The bottle.
Yes.
To pivot off that a little bit, because one of the things that we talked about a lot personally, and I think we really got to know each other there, was, the positivity out in the world, and what you do comes back, but it also, breeds that good energy. So you talked a lot about you journal, you meditate, and you just try to put the good vibes out into the world, which, I mean, I was riding high the rest of the week after I met you, so I went back to work and like, Megan's awesome. But, I mean, do you feel that, again, navigating that really uncertain, scary, tenuous time, do you think that those practices helped you?
Totally. I mean, I think even leaving BU, that's when I start. So a great book is Hal Elroy, The Miracle Morning. And I love his quote. It's, hopefully I can get this right, but it's, love the life you have while making your dreams a reality. And so I totally, every day, even when I journal, I'm like, I always like write that. I mean, so it's just like in my mind of just being grateful of what you have. And some days are great, some days aren't. And really having your vision. And I think with meditation, it's hard. I don't do it every day. I actually took a break for a while. I felt like it started to turn into like it was like another task. I'm like, what am I doing? This is supposed to be like good for me. So I took a little break, but journaling, I've been journaling since I've been in 3rd grade. I laugh because I'm like, I was reading one of my journals from 3rd grade, and it was like, I love Tim Lowney more than Snickers bars. Oh my God. At that moment, that was what was most important. I'm like, we graduated from that.
The Snickers were great.
But I think like that process, they are great. But I think that process, and it's just helpful. It helps provide clarity and a redirection. And, I'm not going out, I think initially I'd done some retreats and that sort of thing, but I got grounded in like, what do you need right now? And I think that's, because this world, you can just get caught up in the busy, and you got to do, and you have to do, and how are you a mom? And like, how many times do we get that, even sitting in here, like, how do you balance that being a mom and being a professional? And it's like, we all know, you all could sit up here and do what I'm doing right now and tell your story. You don't, you need your different resources. So that works for me.
Yeah.
Going out for a run may work for somebody else, so I think it's helpful.
So to keep on the positivity train, what is an accomplishment that you're most proud of? Again, it could be personal, it could be professional. I know you talked a little bit about founding the Compass.
Yeah. I would say, having my family, of course, first and foremost. I think launching SteinbergHR, I think it helped me a lot. And it's still not perfect. But I'm able to work with people. Like, I honestly, like the Sunday scaries, don't have them, like at all. All the Monday blues, whatever, all these things. I'm like, all of that, I truly love what I do. And I love the people who I work with. I love being challenged. I love not having the answers and then trying to figure out, all right, well, who does and how can I bring them in, right? And so the challenge, and it's not complacent at all. Like, it's just so fulfilling that, and I love that Hank gets to see that. Hank is my son. That Hank gets to see that, like although if you ask him, I work so much and all that, I'm like, and I'm also at everything in your little life, and so there's I may not be there at night, and I may be doing things at night where he thinks I should be with him, but yet I'm like, there's trade-offs, I guess is what I'm saying. So I think to have that, and I think with Mike being sick, if I was in-house HR, and I do HR, right? I know I could go on leaves and do that. I would never, that was a 5-year journey.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have been able to do that, to be honest, and have that flexibility, and think about if I was in Boston having to do that. And so I think that in itself, like creating this really, I think, respectful and reputable organization that I originally wanted to scale it and make it like really big, and I'm like, but this fits, and we're doing really great work, and we're proud of it, and it's impacting people's lives, and that in itself is an accomplishment. And I think I get gratification from hearing that and from seeing the impact on, like, we spend half of our lives at work. Like, we should make it as great as it can be and but also have structure. It's not fluffy, right? Yep. I know that could be a perception of it as well. It's providing structure, and so people feel accomplished. They feel like yes, I'm getting something done, and they can go home at the end of the day and feel really great, and that takes time.
Yep.
And so to be able to do that and partner with people that want to do that as a common denominator, like, what more could you ask for?
You're part of the growth. You're
Yeah.
part of that fabric. We talked a lot about kind of ingraining yourself into the fabric.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. So what I would like to end with, because I think this is always a great question, it comes up a lot nowadays. What would Meghan now go back and tell the Meghan graduating from Bon Bon that wasn't sure?
Just to do it. Like, quiet the noise and do it. You'll figure it out. Like we always figure, you know, there's always going to be the rocky, but you figure it out. I would say that. I think being scared is like it's like a good sign, but you can do that with the right people around you, and it'll be okay.
Yeah, it all works itself out.
It does. And I can look at, like, being at MIT and being like, that was like the most challenging job I ever had, and talk about Sunday scaries. I had like the full week scaries. But that really taught me it just taught me so much, and it taught me, like, is this the right spot? It, like, all of those things, whether they don't always have to be really great experiences. I often think some of the difficult ones, you see things in yourself. So just go do it, have fun.
And now I'm just nosy. Do you keep in touch with the person that just finally said, Meghan, don't move to Colorado?
Bruce Perry, yes, he retired actually this year. Yep. He's just such a great, and he just was really great. And in that work, it was predominantly men that I worked with, right? And I look at him and I'm like, wow, like he knew what I was going through. He had lost his parents, which I remember him talking about, but again, in the moment, it wasn't that clear to me. And he knew what I was going through, but I didn't realize it, right? So I wish I talked to him. I wish I saw him more.
Yeah.
But he's just really wonderful, and I don't know if I would have. And Barb, who gave me the opportunity, like, she took a risk. You're in this flagship account, and she's like, hey, why don't you do HR? Like, we'll be okay. I'm like, looking back on that, I'm like, who does that? They could have had somebody that came in and has been doing it for years, you know? So, all of that,
So they saw that drive and that spark and that excitement.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess, again, at the time, I just would do my best and grind, right? And I think that's easier when you're younger, too. But I still have that now. I still do it now.
I think that's all I have.
Okay. We are open to questions. If you have any, just raise your hand.
I don't know your name, but you're amazing, and I feel like I'm reading Mindset, the book right now, and I feel like you're a case study for, like, the growth mindset. You obviously always look for, like, you're not staying in the moment, you always look for something, and I really admire that. I think it's, it's brave, and it makes life exciting too, I bet. I guess I don't know if it's a question, but I think you touched on it, so I'm sure there'll many tough moments. And what is your North Star? Like, what do you kind of, like, what you did say in the morning, you're, like, grateful for the present and kind of looking into the future, but kind of, like, do you have something that you're always kind of, when things get tough, like, you're always like, because you have to say no to some things, and I think that's really hard for us as women sometimes. It's like, I'll say yes to all of it, or I will attend all of the things, or I'll help everybody, but I think, how do you find that North Star when you have to say no to certain things that you're kind of like, I kind of like that and I want to help with that, but maybe it's not the best thing for me?
Yeah. I mean, I still struggle. I'm like I've gotten so much better, but I was a yes person, almost to the detriment. I don't know what my North Star would be. I'd have to, like, think about that a little bit. I think just being grateful for what you were able to do in that day. Like, I feel like just not putting that sort of pressure, like making sure that there's structure so you can get things done, whether it's personally or professionally, but not, like, beating yourself up. Just kind of honestly, like, going with the flow and being able to be agile and adjust along the way. You have to be. If you're not, then I couldn't do what I do, and I couldn't honestly have the family that I have and be able to do that. So I would say being agile and flexible, and quieting, like, what everybody else may think you should be doing. I think at this point, people like, she's not gonna listen to it anyway, you know, like, so, and that's helped, because I feel like I would seek that a lot, and now I'm like, well, just do you, so.
I think your dad was right, too. He knew why you were gonna be okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So I just want to pick your brain a little bit in terms of like fear, because I think a lot of us women also go through a lot of fear, especially when we're starting our business.
Right.
If you can touch a little bit on like, did you have any fear when you were, you know, going out and deciding like, I'm going to do this business, especially like having so many competitors of people doing the same thing you're doing, of being fearful that you weren't going to be good enough. Those are things we kind of all.
Yeah, I think it's a mindset, because you definitely, that happens. So yes, fear. I was like, what? I have no business leaving BU with great benefits, starting to do this. Like, what am I doing right now? You know, and so there is certainly a fear of it, but it's also, again, surrounding yourself with people that are like, do it. You can do it, and don't. And then when you do go to that place of, gosh, there's competitors, or this person's doing it, seems to be doing it a little bit better than I am. You have people like Jackie to tell you to knock it off, and like stay focused. Or, you know, Rachel, I mean, honestly, you have people that are able to say, like, just be in the moment, and then you can move on from it. You don't dwell in it. But it is nerve-wracking, but it's the reward. I can't, it's almost like having a baby. I thought that I would put, when people would go out on a leave pre-Hank, I think I could empathize with them and be like, oh yes, you're going to take time off, and that's it. And I thought I was like so great doing it. And then I had Hank, I'm like, I didn't know what the hell I was talking about, like in what you go through. And I mean, it took me a full year to figure myself out again, and like all this. And so unless you just do it and go through it, then you find that it's not so scary, and that there's different pathways, and there's people around you that can lift you up when you need it, and it's the best decision. So honestly, if there's, many of you know too, I will talk to whomever that wants to do their own thing. It's the best decision I ever made, for so many reasons, because you get to be you, even more so, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone? I'm going to stand up because I can't see you well, so maybe you can see me better. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to touch on, because I think you shared so many amazing things, and thank you for sharing all of it.
Thank you.
I know sometimes it's hard to kind of put on the spot and talk so personally about the professional journal. So I kind of picked up on the journaling piece a little bit. As a lifelong aspiring journaler, still working on it, not successfully. So listening to the way that you structure your thoughts and then are able to articulate them and put them into words, like while you're speaking, I can see so clearly why journaling is something that has stuck with you. And I love being able to kind of witness that, not as Princess Mind. But my question is, do you make a practice of kind of reflecting back and reading back in your journal? I know you made a little joke about the third grade you, but I think a lot of themes that I was hearing from you are, talking about confidence, talking about growth, positivity, reflection, mindfulness, and I was wondering if you do that in your journaling as well, because I think a lot of times we kind of forget or don't take the time, or society kind of tells us like we don't want to spend too much time focusing on our accomplishments, especially as women. So we miss them a lot. We miss the growth. We don't see it. So I was wondering if you go back and look at your journals and kind of see, here's where I was a year ago. Here's what I was writing about. Here's where I am now.
Not so much. I think when I moved, I remember being like, oh my gosh, I have all these journals, this is hysterical. And then that's when I realized, poor mom, after telling my mom after my dad died, like, I'm moving to Colorado. I'm like, I can't believe I did that a month later. But that was like the only journal, and I kind of put that away. So no, I don't go back and read them. I think it's, again, for that moment, and sometimes when I journal, it's not, I don't want you to think that I'm like cursive writing through my journal in the morning. Like that's not, I've got like here on the top of the head, I'm like, how do I feel right now? And if it's like I need more, positivity, or if I need like, whatever it is I need in that moment, like I'll brain dump, or, so it looks very different each time. So no, I don't always go back, but what I will say, that Hal Elroyd, when I read it, I was like all in, and so I did like, there was like a vision board that went along with it, and I look at that, my vision board, or like a piece of paper in a notebook, and what I'm doing now, and I kid you not, is what is happening. It's like, even from a monetary standpoint, like what I thought was going to be my goal, I've met that plus, right? And from a, I wanted to be able to ride my bike to work. I like drew a picture of a bike. And I'm like, I get to ride my bike whenever I want right now, you know? So there are so many things that were on that at the time, I couldn't even fathom any of it. Another one was a little, like doing a seasonal rental for skiing. Like, I don't even have a pot to piss in. What am I going to be doing right now? You know, like, but seeing that, and I just kind of kept being like, well, wouldn't that be great? And that's come to fruition. So I feel like it's truly, you know, you put pen to paper and I know people may be like, that's a little wooey of like manifestation, but I feel like if you truly believe it, it will come at some point, who the heck knows when, but you can still be like, oh, that would be cool, that'll be great, let's do it. Yeah.
What was the name of that book, just one more time?
It's Hal Elroyd, The Miracle Morning. Yeah. And what I will say is I don't do everything that he says. It's like a 5-step process. But again, it's just a good foundation. And at that moment in my life, I needed it. I needed that structure, and I needed something different. So.
Somebody else? Oh, Michelle, go ahead.
Nice. I love you. You're awesome. I heard a question the last time I was at one of these events, and I thought this might be good for you.
Great, Michelle. Thank you.
Is what do you need from us? Like, what's next? How can this group of women, how can the chamber help you?
I think just continuing to do it. I mean, the chamber has been really critical. I think the services are unbelievable. That's, again, when I came into the chamber, I was taking like some of the magazines, and I had met with somebody, you know, starting out, because again, it was complimentary services. So I think, and I just want to tell this quick story about my logo. So my logo, I was like reaching out to people, and the logo and the quotes that I was getting were like hundreds of dollars to do that. And I remember Jill Beresford was like, go on Phifer and check that out. And it was this website of people all over the world that do graphic design, and I got my logo through them. And I'll share with you. Guess how much money I spent on that? On my logo, just guess. $50. $15.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
$15. And then from there, I now have like my book club and my cafe, and so I reach out to the same woman. She's in the United Kingdom, I think. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. Can you build this? And that's what it is. So I think just those, like, I mean, that's a resource of starting out, but anything like along the way, I mean, if there's a good connection, or if you're like, I think Meghan would like this person, or I think that they would be, you know, they would complement each other, and there would be some like synergy, or going out for coffee, getting to know each other a little bit more. I love connecting people. Like, there's nothing more gratifying than being like, you have a problem, or you need to figure something out, let me connect the dots. I just think that in itself is just awesome. So just connecting, and
it must run in the family. Your sister and I met, and we talked about our tan, and she shared her tan.
I'm telling you, that's what it's all about. I think, sharing and not being afraid, or being honest about something. If you're like, hey, I think that this would be great, or have you thought about this? don't have all the answers. None of us do. So, you know, I think that would be helpful. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was just about to say. I think the old narrative of like fake it till you make it is just not it anymore. And the fact that you're saying I don't have the answers and I surround myself with resources and people that I can go to. And I think that's just so admirable because it just adds to your credibility that you can say to somebody, I don't have the answer, but I'm going to get it. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to, you know, sell this to you just because I think that that's going to, you know, do good for me or do good for you. And that's just so valuable. But, you know, when you do have self-doubt, like what is your initial, you know, I need to talk to this person or I need to do this, or like where do you go when you do have that feeling of, oh, I don't really know what to do right now?
When Megan needs a Megan.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens. Phone a friend. I think what I have learned is like just to pause. Like just don't give an answer. You don't need to respond in that moment. And I've learned like I used to feel like I should know the answer and I should be the, you know, and I'm like, well, no, I don't. Can I get back to you? Thank you for that. Let me ponder for a moment, or let me just, and make sure that you follow up with it, you know? So I think that's I don't know if I necessarily always go to somebody. I definitely have I will reach out to people if it's something more specific, or if I do, if I'm like, oh geez, like this client said this, like has this happened to somebody before, and like how do you handle that? Again, you leverage the people and trust the people that you reach out to, but I think pausing and just getting your thoughts together, and a lot of the times we can figure it out on our own too, or like we can navigate of what is the proper response. Is a response even needed for something? I don't know if that's helpful.
Yeah, because I feel like I'm just so anxious to like deliver, respond, and sometimes you just have to take a little bit of a break.
Yeah, especially if you don't know, or maybe you just need to research it a little bit more, or look back on something, and that's okay too.
Being okay with it not being okay, being uncomfortable.
Honestly, I think
uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think that, and I think people will respect it. The follow-up part is important.
Can I ask what you just said? This makes me, I'm a little bit the same way, but recently I had an experience, reached out to our lawyer to look into a topic, right? And the lawyer didn't know exactly what it was, so the lawyer researched the topic with me, right? And then they billed me. So I think the lesson in all of it is that the answer is somewhere out there. And you okay with researching, right? And you might bill them too.
Those lawyers. Not over in that corner.
It was a fun process. I was like, I think I could have done this too, but it was so much more soothing to be with somebody. Oh, okay, I guess we're thinking alike, I guess. So I'm on the right path. So it's okay. The bill is okay.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a good point too, of like talking something out with somebody else too.
Yeah.
Because you sometimes will come to a different spot, or we might think of something a little bit differently, or again, blind spots with things. So to have the conversation.
Yeah, things are not always clear in HR.
No, and asking questions, and no situation is the same. So it's like, all right, as much as you can mitigate risk and those sorts of things, if that's what it has to do with, then try to think through all that. So.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi.
Did we know that it's National HR Day?
Oh, I
Look at that.
That's so awesome.
I planned that.
So awesome.
Alexander had a great question for you, and I think it's more of a comment than a question. Is, when you said, I don't know what way, you had an answer, but I think that what I see in you, Megan, I don't even remember when I met you because we know each other.
I know.
So what I see is that you give to get. So, I was part of the first HR cafe that you had, and, so I was in-house HR, for a long time, and I was part of that, and we just all figured it out together. People shared resources, but you made that happen, bringing people together, and I was saying to Sharon, I said I should have known that was your sister, because I saw the resemblance. It's that, I just see that you're giving to this organization. You're part of this board, you're bringing people together, so I think just having, and when I needed a project, when I was just in over my head, like, well, who's the first person I'm going to call? It was you. And I just threw everything at you, and you came back with it. And so I think that that's something. When I was kind of in transition myself, you have all this going on. How many times do we meet for coffee? One or two times at Cardinal Cushing. That became my Friday. Cushing Cafe became my Friday treat to myself to do and what I needed to do there. So, yeah. So, I'm going to give you a little part of the answer.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
Yeah, and that's how you attract people that you.
Yeah. And people helped me out when I started too. Like, they would carve out different projects and things like that, which was helpful for me to get started and dip my toe in different industries. And so I feel like it is only the right thing when somebody, and there's a lot of people that are like, I want to do consulting, so I'll carve out a little project. Like, they don't want to do consulting. Right? And but now they have that as a data point, right? So sometimes you think it's so great, and then it's not for everybody either.
You ask me to do that. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
What am I doing? So you've been part of my journey too.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi Megan, this is my first event, so I'm just visiting.
Oh, well, welcome.
Thank you. With HR, you said 7 years ago, so, back then everybody went to the office. Then you had COVID, everybody worked from home or hybrid. How much did you have to change your branding to accommodate the difference with people working hybrid and working remote? Was it a completely different path that you had to develop, or is it still pretty much the same?
No, again, the foundation was the same. It's how do you do it? And I think our model is really great because it's not SteinbergHR, myself, and my counterparts coming in and having all the answers. We're working with the leaders that are within the organization to solve for something, right? And so whether they're in a hybrid environment or if they need to get everybody back to work, like, we're part of that. We're part of assisting them to get there. It didn't change our brand. It was more of, again, how can we be flexible to meet the needs of where they're at right now and where they want to go. And there were, I think maybe obviously there was a little bit more with human services. We did continue to go on site in some cases, and then others we were remote, and then we moved to hybrid. And all the engagements are really different too. So if they're project-based and they can be done not on site, or if there's meetings so we're flexible with what the need is. I do think it's important though in HR, depending on what the engagement is, to have that visibility is important, even if it is a project. It's just to meet people and figure out where they're at. But we didn't have to rebrand, or just more of, again, going with the flow. Yeah, and not saying no in that realm, right? It's like yes, and what do we need to do to make this happen?
Just real quick, I'm just standing here kind of having flashbacks because
Oh, yeah.
I remember this young lady when she was actually at Capital One Cafe launching your business.
Yes.
And asking everybody, what do you think of these logos? It's not a pretend question.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's right too. All my coffee meetups there, and you were always a friendly face, always.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rita. Thank you. You did a great job. Appreciate it.
Thanks to our sponsors again, Mountain One Bank, Cardinal Cushing, Crystal Moon, Bliss Healing, Friendship Home, Ford Washington, Toma,
Our next one is Thursday, June 5th with Erin Cohen from Road to Responsibility and moderated by Pam Denholm from Social Food Bank. And then we'll be taking a break for the summer and then coming back in the fall with a networking event. So,
Great job,
everything's
Heather.
on the calendar. Thank you.